Hey everybody, can you hear me? All right, here we go. Hopefully the sound levels are a little bit better this time. How's everybody doing today? It's 2 p.m. China time, and I think it's about 10 p.m. Friday night in LA. Cool. So there's a couple of improvements from the last live stream. First of all, I finally figured out a little bit more about how to get this thing to actually start the way I wanted it to. So hopefully you guys didn't have to jump around like you did last time. And if you're new to this stream, then forget everything I just said. It actually went perfectly last time. Also, I switched over to an HDMI capture card, so the image of me should be clear enough to see all my little stubble now. And also, I reduced the volume level on my microphone, so it should be a little bit better. Whew, I'm out of breath. I was just doing some push-ups, getting amped. Sorry, everybody who thought that I was going to be live streaming me eating Hotpot. That's not happening right now. So there's a few things I wanted to talk about today. I just wrote them down in my little notepad. But first, as usual, I do want to go over the comments from Patreon and Subscribestar. Those guys are actually supporting the channel directly, so obviously I want to pay attention to what they're saying. Let's see. Hi Nathan, I wonder where can I find your email address? Actually, I get this question a lot, and oftentimes I get people who email me and say, I finally found your email address. So I do have it on my YouTube channel if you go to About. And then you just have to click a little button. Let me take a look. Oh, and before I continue, I just want to let you guys know that I got a lot of comments about my wallpaper on my desktop that it was very freaky and creepy and scary. I had a picture from one of my favorite movies called They Live. So the good news is I've listened to your feedback and I've changed it so you do not have to worry about a creepy background anymore. And in keeping with the festivities of the Christmas season, yes, Cat, the Christmas season, I have changed it completely. So, hang on a second. First, I want to show you how to get to my email. How do I do this again? Oh, yeah, desktop left. Here we go. So this is my channel. As you can see, I'm desperately in need of professional channel art. I did this myself, and I'm not an artist, sorry. So if you click on About and then click this View Email Address, this is my email address. And I'm the only person that has access to this email. So I will read it. I probably will not respond, though, unfortunately. And there's my new desktop wallpaper. Much less creepy, right? It's very festive. So before, you guys were freaking out because this thing was horrible looking, and I just found a nice picture of Santa Claus. So everybody can get in the Christmas spirit. Okay, let's see. Oh, thank you for the super chat. Wish Lao. Put on the glasses. Yeah, exactly. Okay. Hi, Nathan. What happened to the Epic China series? It is still happening. I got a little sidetracked with this live streaming thing. I'm still figuring this all out. But I am still working on Epic China. Just so you know, the way that I do Epic China is I research the entire story, and then I always have to research ahead of where I'm at so I can figure out where everything's going. So I am pretty close to the next episode, and I know I keep talking about it. I want to do a little bit more than just one episode so that everybody can feel like they got a little bit more after this long wait. So maybe I'll try to do 2, but that's a lot of work. So as far as timelines, it would be nice if I could release it this year, huh? I'll try to do that. Hi, Nathan. Love your channel from Australia. Miss Young. Hello. Thank you. How can I tag people? At, I believe. Okay, so what do I want to talk about today? Oh, comments. Sorry, I'm distracted. So that was 1. How do I find your email address? Here's another one. Hi, Nathan. Have you read my message? Probably. My friend is Dr. So-and-so, a homeopathic doctor. He knows that you're sick with enchondroma and he would like to help you. We're in Hong Kong. He produced a video about your case. Oh. Okay. Let me watch that and see. And to answer your question, did I read your message? Unfortunately, I had not, but I will read it. I've gotten now 8 different opinions from doctors. So, you know, everything's worth exploring at this point. So let me remember to do that. This is somebody asking if I will take a look at another Xinjiang issue. This is somebody else saying, is Tim Pool on the far-right Falun Gong map because he's used Epoch Times articles and referred to them as reputable source? And he just today did a live stream with China Uncensored. So I'm actually thinking about going through that and debunking it. I haven't even seen it yet, and I'm already very confident that I could debunk a lot of it because the far right Falun Gong is just filled with lies, and Tim Pool has been known to lie, and his answer to me when I called him out for lying was that he really didn't care. So I'm sure that I could find a lot to talk about there. However, it's very long, so I'll have to think about if I have time to do it today. I've been following you since you talked about the NYT report on Chinese healthcare system. Thanks. Deeply appreciate it. That video was a lot of work. But I think people got my message from that, which is essentially that, you know, China has, I'm sure, tons of problems, but can we talk about facts and reality rather than just making stuff up? And the New York Times has gotten quite lazy with its reporting about China. If we take the most charitable interpretation of what they're putting out, then they would be very lazy. Okay. I think that's about it. So I thought it'd be kind of interesting if I go through some of my old videos and talk about them, kind of give you a little bit of behind the scenes on it, kind of what my thought process was, decisions I had to make, how much work it was, that kind of thing. So the first videos that I ever did were not widely released. It was really just me testing my camera, testing my talking, just seeing what was up with things. So I'm going to show you a video from before I had ever released any actual videos, and you can kind of get a little sense. Now there's some, I believe it's copyrighted music, so I have to turn the volume down real quick after I'm done talking, but just an example. See if the audio works.
And he hated you.
No, it doesn't work. Does it? Oh, sorry. Here we go. Again, as a Jew, what scares me more? A guy in Florida in a van, or a political party that's talking about socialism and hiding their anti-Semitism? So, just some very basic videos of me kind of talking about politics, some of the ways that the Young Turks and other leftists have really kind of enabled the far right. And really none of it had anything to do with China. It was just me thinking about the fake left and kind of why they're this weird way that really kind of enables the far right. And during that time, I was basically just waiting to start school. This is in 2018. I had resigned my position as a CTO at a VFX company, and I had decided I'm going to learn Mandarin once and for all. And in the meantime, a video came out from Dolce & Gabbana that was an advertisement for a runway show that they had coming up in Shanghai. And the ad that they went with was very, very weird. It was this ad of this Chinese lady, and she was trying to eat Italian foods, but she was using chopsticks. And the whole time that she's doing it, they made her look really stupid. And they had a guy talking over her and kind of talking her down, being overly sort of sexual and making her seem like she's not sophisticated enough to appreciate Italian food. So at the time, it was really annoying to me, and it just typified how a lot of the West can just get away with whatever they want when they talk about China, and nobody really calls them on it. It's crazy. So I made a video about that with my girlfriend. It took us 3 days straight. At that time, I was waiting to get into school, so I had more time. And when I say 3 days, I mean all day, all night. And we did a frame-by-frame copy of their video. And it was a parody. The parody was meant to highlight the hypocrisy and the way that people can just portray China and Chinese people however they want, and nobody seems to get on them about it.
Chinese 包子. Welcome to the Dolce
So
& Gabbana.
I did 2 versions of this, one in English, one in Chinese. And we posted it on my girlfriend's Weibo, because I didn't really use social media. I'm not really a social media kind of guy.
Bad show.
Here's just a little clip of it.
Episode 1.
So you can see I'm
We are gonna show you
mocking her.
how to use these weird-shaped metal things to eat our magnificent Chinese 包子.
And it's just inverted, right? So I'm using a fork and knife and I'm trying to eat Chinese food, but I'm too unsophisticated and stupid to figure out how to do it. Meanwhile, my girlfriend is talking over me and making me seem, even more dumb.
You grab both of them with one hand and use them like chopsticks to pick up the 包子. No,
You can
no,
see
no,
I
not like
can't pick
that.
things up. I'm trying to use
Yeah, that's right.
a fork and knife
Just
as
press the knife
as
deep
chopsticks.
into the 包子and
Pretty
bring it
funny.
up to your lips.
This was a lot harder than it would be now. Like now I could make this type of video pretty quickly because I've gotten a lot better at editing. But at that time it was very hard for us to figure out how to do all this stuff. Oh, sorry. I have it on the wrong thing. Sorry, let me do it again.
Gently thrust the knife deep into
So here I am trying to eat baozi with
to your
a
lips.
knife.
Oh, don't let the juices spill out. 太伟大了.
So we examined the script that they had, that they were talking about, and we really made one that was very close. It was a series of 3 videos,
Chinese dessert.
so
Welcome to the
I had to do
Dolce &
3 as
Gabbana
well.
Bad Show. Eat with fork and knife, episode 2. Today we're gonna eat traditional Chinese dessert soup.
So here I am trying to eat soup with a knife. And so this video was, it really kind of captured the feeling of how I was back then. A little bit more lighthearted. I hadn't really dived into the politics of everything at that time. I was just really thinking about how annoying it was, just the way that China was being represented, as I said. So this video got about 20 million views in the first day, and then by the time it was finally, the wave was over, it got about 100 million views here in China. And then it was on a bunch of news articles and everything. And to this day, actually, I'll meet people who say like, oh yeah, I saw your videos, whatever. And then I'll mention this video and they'll go, oh, that was you. Oh, and they kind of don't really connect the two. So yeah, this was the first real video that I released about China, I guess you could say. And one thing to note about this is that this was released in November 2018. This China flag tattoo here, oops, just comes by real quick. I had already had that for years by the time I made this video, so keep that in mind. As well as my Hey Bai Wuchang tattoos. So in order to make this video, what we did basically is we had this table. This is my apartment. We angled this table in a weird way so that the background would look pretty good. And we had a camera on a tripod, and then I have an iPad to my left. And what I'm doing is I'm watching their video and then just sort of copying it and exaggerating it, obviously, like this. This screenshot is pretty funny. And I had a good time back then because, I don't know, to me, it just kind of seemed like a little bit less serious. I mean, this is kind of before, in my eyes at least, kind of before everything got much, much worse when it comes to relations between the West and China. At least, maybe I just hadn't researched it, but in my eyes, I was quite a bit more easygoing about things. So it was fun making this video when it was done. It wasn't fun making it when we were doing it. It was actually quite stressful. We had a good time, in the funny scenes where I was being a little joker like here and everything, but it was really tough for us to do English subtitles, Chinese subtitles, different different lighting and filming and matching up the frame rates, and I was teaching myself how to edit, and it was just a lot of work, to be honest with you. So that's the first real video that I did about China. Looking back on it now, I guess I would say it doesn't really fit my channel very well because it's quite a bit more goofy than my attitude is towards the China landscape these days. But I still do enjoy, watching it sometimes. It's kind of funny. And we actually did a follow-up video that was... did I release it on YouTube? No, I guess not. I did a follow-up video that was kind of like a funny making of with some behind the scenes and me cracking up and everything. But the thing is, I think that people understood that it wasn't just a parody and it wasn't just funny, that there was something deeper that I was saying, and hopefully people caught on to that. Thank you, Weiju. Daniel, please take care of your health. Thank you. It's ongoing, I guess you could say. I always have to keep checking these scenes. I got to get me one of those scene changer deck thingies, stream deck, I think they're called. Hi from Japan again. Hello. All right, so I think maybe it would be kind of fun to go over each video, even the serious ones, and just talk about things maybe I had to cut out. Other things that I said that just was too long, or other comments that I have about it, or even things that I think, I would change now. There's definitely some videos that aren't my favorite, and there's definitely some that I think turned out better than I expected. And there's also videos that I think are awesome and they didn't really get any views, and there's ones that I think are pretty good and they got a lot of views, so we can kind of talk about that. All right, so but before we talk about that kind of stuff, which will be in a future stream, we have something a lot more serious to talk about, unfortunately, and that is Muslim genocide. This is something that's real. It's actually happening. Hundreds of thousands of civilians have been killed. So I want to get into it a little bit. Brown University. Let's take a look at this. Costs of War from Brown University. Okay? You guys can all look this up if you want. So Brown University says over 800,000 people have died due to direct war violence and several times as many indirectly. Now, what are they talking about? They're talking about the U.S.-led war on terror. Now, of those 801,000, 335,000 of them were civilians. 335,000. That's a very high percent. 37 million people are war refugees and displaced. A lot of spending. And the U.S. government is conducting counter-terror activities in 80 countries. 80 countries. The wars have been accompanied by violations of human rights and civil liberties in the U.S. and abroad. Now, again, this is not some, radical outlet. This is a university. Now, maybe you think that they're so radical. I don't know. But from what I can see, this seems to be some kind of research going on here that isn't just somebody talking out of their butt. So let's dig in a little bit. Here we see a little bit more of a breakdown. U.S. soldiers have been killed, U.S. contractors. And one of the themes that we see here is a lot of the stuff is not reported on. And when I say not reported, I mean maybe there's some paper here and there, whatever. But these guys have to do a research project just to come up with these numbers. Pretty interesting. So, a lot of people. A lot, including civilians, journalists, humanitarian workers, contractors. So if we dig in a little bit deeper, we can find more specifics. If we want to really take a look. A lot of airstrikes. Here's just one example. 26th of October 2020, airstrike on the Taliban killed 3 children and a Taliban commander. 4 days earlier, an airstrike targeting a religious school, yes, you heard that correctly, is reported to have killed 12 children and wounded 14 civilians. It goes on, and basically their point is a lot of death is happening, a lot of civilians are being killed, and does anyone care? Does anyone even know? So, definitely, for sure, a lot of people have been asking about this Muslim genocide. I assume this is the one that they're talking about because this is the one that is proven, that is enormous, that is happening year after year after year after year. And they even have this interesting little map that they've made. We can pull it up here. And the map is pretty interesting, but the text is maybe even more interesting. Let me move it a little bit so we can all see the text. Sort of see it. I'm going to read to you what this says. So this says 80 total affected countries, 40 U.S. military bases, 65 counterterrorism training, 26 U.S. military exercises, 14 U.S. troops in combat, 7 air and drone strikes. Now, honestly, I don't really know what those numbers are referring to. Is that some kind of specific time period? Not sure. But like I said, the text here is a lot more interesting. So it says, less than 1 month after September 11th, U.S. troops with support from Britain, Canada, France, Germany, and Australia invaded Afghanistan to fight Al-Qaeda and the Taliban. More than 17 years later, the global war on terrorism, started by George W. Bush, is truly global, with Americans actively engaged in countering terrorism in 80 nations on 6 continents. This map is the most comprehensive depiction in civilian circles of the U.S. military and government anti-terrorist actions overseas in the past 2 years. Here we go. Here's the time that they're talking about. This is just in 2 years, okay? Now, let's check it out a little bit closer. I really want you guys to be able to see this. Okay. To develop it, basically, we had to go through U.S. and foreign government sources, published and unpublished reports, military websites, databases. We contacted foreign embassies, blah, blah, blah. Interviews with journalists, academics, others. Look at this sentence here. This is absolutely crazy. We found that, contrary to what most Americans believe, the war on terror is not winding down. It has spread to more than 40% of the world's countries. The war isn't being waged by the military alone, which has spent $1.9 trillion fighting terrorism since 2001. The State Department has spent $127 billion in the last 17 years to train police, military, and border patrol agents in many countries and to develop anti-terrorism education programs, among other activities. And they say here that they've actually been conservative in their selections. And it's likely much more, well, they don't say much. It's likely more extensive than this map shows. This is absolutely crazy to me. So when people start talking to me about the Muslim genocide that's happening, they're absolutely right. You know, this Muslim genocide is real, and this is what I'm fighting for the for the Western forces that are led by the U.S. to stop this crazy genocide. I mean, they're not trying to educate 800,000 people. They killed them. And 335,000 out of 800,000 is a lot. That's a huge, crazy percent. 335 divided by 800. That's 42%. 42% of the people that have died in the war on terror were civilians. Children, nurses, random people just walking around. So, this is what I think about when people say stuff like, Muslim people should be treated better. I'm like, yeah, they should be treated better. First, they need to be allowed to live, though. And here's the real thing. Here's the real thing that really drives me crazy about this is, why don't people talk about it? Let's find out, okay? Let's find out why people don't talk about it. I'm going to open a new private window, okay, in Firefox. And let's just go to Google News. All right, let's see. So I'm not signed in. It doesn't know who I am. This is a private window. So these are the top stories in the world today, according to Google. Funding bill about COVID. A guy quit. People are arguing. Some pilots weren't coached appropriately, apparently. More people arguing. And that's not even the U.S. section, right? This is the headlights. Then the U.S. section starts. Again, Boeing. There's no escape from L.A. NYPD. I mean, do you guys see anything about 800,000 dead people? What are you talking about? What is all this crap? Snowstorm hits Japan, trapping more than 1,000 cars. What? Is this is the top stories of the world? This is why people don't talk about the genocide, because they're overly focused on anything but the genocide, anything but the 800,000 dead people. I'm sure large majority of them were Muslim. and were targeted because, like the report we just read 2 seconds ago, they were at a Muslim school. Alec Baldwin, Leah Remini, and more stars react to Tom Cruise's coronavirus outburst. Why do we care what a washed-up Scientologist actor says about coronavirus? Who cares? Lil Wayne. Oh, hang on. Wait. Whoa. Hang on. Lil Wayne unleashed a deluxe edition of No Ceilings 3. Stop the presses, everybody. Again, this is the top stories in the world, according to Google. It's absolutely mind-boggling to me that people can talk to me about Muslims and in the same breath pretend like this isn't happening. I mean, I'm not making this up. This is universities reporting this stuff, and yet nobody knows this. Why? I used to say 500,000 were dead, but that was actually a very old report. This is much newer. So when the United States is pushing its power over the world, that's one thing. But when it's pushing its power over the world and just killing hundreds of thousands of people, we don't want to slip into whataboutism, but how much room do they have to criticize other countries? I don't really see how you can get past this hypocrisy. So this is just something I really encourage everybody to take a look. And when I post, when I make tweets, when I post this kind of stuff, especially in a smaller form, a lot of people say, "Oh, well, where's the article? Where's the this? Do your own research. I don't work for you, okay? I'm just showing you some of the stuff that I see. If you want to find out the truth about this, read it. Check out other studies. Don't listen to me. I'm just telling you what I'm seeing." And I wonder, by the way, if somebody in the United States walked around with a camera and said, "Hi, how many people do you think have died in the war on terror?" I wonder what kind of answers you would get. And if you said, "What percentage of the people who died in the U.S.-led war on terror were civilians?" I think that you would probably get numbers of like 5%, 10% maybe, because that's what you sort of tend to think is like, well, 10% is a lot. We don't like it. It's really bad. But there's going to be some collateral damage when it comes to bombing. There's going to be collateral damage when it comes to airstrikes. You know, the buzzword, the tag that America should be forever associated with. Airstrikes. Anyway, I get really annoyed about this because people who claim to be on the left, right? They claim to be standing up for Muslims and for equality. They never say shit about this, do they? They never say anything about this. It's so crazy to me. All right, sorry guys, I'm getting worked up over here. Who's GL? Oh gosh, okay. Thank you everybody for the super chats. Take care of yourself. Thank you, Legion. Zach, thank you. AB, good name. Right wing in the U.S. is anti-government, helping people. Always says government doesn't work for lifting others from poverty. Is anti-China sentiment more about attacking the idea of collectivism to defend capitalism? It depends on who we're talking about. Generally speaking, I would say basically it's not exactly about collectivism, but it's tied in there very closely. And you have to remember that Christianity and even further to the right, where you get into extreme individualism and that kind of stuff, you know, at the expense of others, I should say, that also plays into this. You know, as I was saying in another stream, the neocons have slightly different reasons to believe the same types of things that the sort of average person may believe. about China. So I've got an AB and a BBCC. Thank you, BBCC. What else have I got here? Below. Report GL. So that's all I really want to say about this this genocide. Actually, I do want to add one more interesting thing I noticed today just while I was waiting around, which is I saw this report. I thought it was going to be about the Muslims being slaughtered across the world by the United States, but actually it was talking about China's big data program targeting Xinjiang's Muslims. So I assume since they're ignoring the 800,000 dead, that this must be more dead than that. But actually, it's 2,000 detainees. There's a list that's supposedly leaked of 2,000 detainees. Okay. And as you look at this article, you start to realize that it's actually 2,000 over the span of a couple of years. Okay. And it apparently represents the Aksu prefecture. Okay. So if we look at that prefecture, this says that there's 2.37 million people. Later it changes its mind and says there's 2.5 million. And this is 80%. Is it 80% Muslim or 80% Uyghur? Oh, 80%. Yeah, 80% Uyghur. So we've got 2,000 in this entire prefecture with 2.5 million people, and it's spread over 2.5 years, or 2 years. Meanwhile, Xinjiang has something like 25 million people. Okay? So 2.5 million times 10 is 25 million, which is Xinjiang. So based on this report, it appears that in 2 years, 10 times this amount in all of Xinjiang were detained. So that's 20,000 people. Could be more, could be less, we don't know. All this says is 2,000. So I just want to kind of bring that into a little bit of perspective. When I read this, I just think, okay, that sucks. I don't want anyone to be detained. I don't want anyone going to jail or prison or having any kinds of rights removed. I don't want any extremism. I don't want any, I don't want any bad stuff to be happening. But with this type of accusation, you really have to be very strict about what you accept as proof or even as evidence. You really have to look into it. Now, by the way, this is apparently from Human Rights Watch. Not sure if that's where it's from, but if it is from there, then obviously, there's questionable backing of groups like that, to say the least, but let's just assume it's true. And then it goes through basically this list of what these quote-unquote big data is evaluating. Some of them seem very innocuous, like being generally untrustworthy. So I guess that would mean sort of the reputation that you have in your town. Being young, acting suspiciously, doing illegal things, which this article words in a very weird way, actually. And some of them are a lot more clear, right? Like going on the annual pilgrimage to Mecca in Saudi Arabia is, it's pretty clear that you're relatively devout. Doesn't mean you've necessarily done anything wrong. But this entire list, the way that they present it is that like any one of these is why you'll be detained, which of course is not the case because there's so many of these, and yet there's, according to this article at least, Only 2,000 out of 2.5 million. So clearly what that means is that they're using some kind of AI or some kind of software that's examining all these different indicators. Now, that all sounds very scary. Who wants to be a part of any of this, right? I don't. I mean, we don't want this to be going on. We know that there was a lot of terrorism going on. We know that there has been a lot of instability. And I often get asked this question, do you support this happening? And it's always so weird to me because, like, I'm not Chinese. Like, what do you mean support? Do I support it? No, I don't support anything. I'm just here talking about what I see. And what I see is they're trying to stop terrorism. And what they're trying to do is find indicators of people who may become terrorists or may be already supporting terrorism. And this is a list of some of those indicators. It's basically something like a stop and frisk type of thing, but more extensive. And obviously, they're looking for a little bit worse crimes than a pickpocket. So, in my perfect world, none of this would be happening. There wouldn't be terrorism. We wouldn't even need police. All this stuff could be reduced into a nice paradise type of situation. But we don't live in that world. So, do I agree with what they're doing? I don't even know what that means. I agree with it more than what my country's doing. A lot more. Because these 2,000 people are alive, right? That's the number one thing. The first right is the right to life. So that's my answer. And people always think that you have to be either totally for something or totally against it in this day and age. Everybody's very black and white on these issues, but there's a lot of nuance. You know, ideally, this stuff can get over with soon, and everybody can go back to work and life, and we don't have to worry about terrorism. That's what I want. But in the meantime, I just want you to understand that a lot of people in the world are climbing a mountain of 800,000 dead people to stand on the top of it and yell down at people who are still alive and say those people are being mistreated. Doesn't mean it's wrong. It doesn't mean it's incorrect. It just means keep that in your mind. All right, next thing. That was very annoying to see what my country's doing, and it's actually much worse than I thought. Let me get a little bit of coffee. How's everybody doing out there, by the way? The gray zone is off to a great start, but mainstream media despises them. Yeah, that's rather unfortunate. They were removed as a reliable source from Wikipedia, I saw, and they got some really good, really interesting research. I don't keep up on everything that they do because honestly, I'm really not that knowledgeable about South America and other places like that particularly, but you know, somebody's got to do that kind of research because it's going away. And in the old days, there was, you know, investigative journalism that actually happened, and you would occasionally find a new thing that reporters had discovered through their research. But that's very rare now. You guys ready to move on to the next subject? I look pretty tired, huh? No, I'm okay. I'm always a little bit tired. I do too much of this stuff. Nathan, you skipped my super chats. Did I? Sorry. I haven't actually figured out how to get this stupid thing to show them on the screen yet. But someday. Do a video with Caleb Maupin. I'm not really doing videos with other people right now. And with Caleb, I haven't really dived into everything. I mean, not everything that he said, but, you know, I don't really know that much about what he's up to these days. I've seen a few of his videos and stuff. And also, I'm not a communist. I'm not very well read on that kind of stuff, so I don't know what exactly we would talk about. It is interesting to see him make his arguments, though. He's seems very well researched. Have you announced the live stream on your social networks? Well, apparently not well enough, since you're asking. But I did, yeah. The thing about that, Dendrick, is it's very difficult for me to figure out what time I should be streaming because, you know, there's so many time zones at play here. I think this is actually a little bit too late for me at 2 because I was just kind of hanging out waiting. Could probably have done a little bit earlier. OFZ. OFZ. Thank you. Are you optimistic for a future where we can buy Huawei phones in America? Am I optimistic for a future where we can buy Huawei phones in America? I personally don't really care. I think Huawei should be treated fairly, and it should be treated just the same as how we treat every other big company. I don't really care if they sell a lot of phones or not. It means nothing to me. And I don't live in America, so living in America and buying a Huawei phone, I don't care, honestly. Okay, did I miss anybody else? Oh, what do you think of the Julian Assange debacle? So Julian Assange is a very interesting subject to me because it's another one of those issues that highlights the sort of double standard. I'm totally fine if you want to tell me that he should be executed and he's a war criminal and he's a horrible, worst person in the world. But it doesn't really go along with the message that the United States and Britain and these other Western countries have the freedoms that they say that they're having. That's really my problem with it. If you want to come off as a place that has these types of rights and also remove these types of rights from people, that's where it gets a little bit iffy for me. I think that he should be treated humanely no matter what happens with him. Personally, I don't really care about the allegations about working for Russia or whatever. I don't really buy into a lot of that stuff, because if the documents that they're releasing are real and true, then fine. Then they're doing what they're claiming to do. I don't think that WikiLeaks has ever claimed that they're totally unbiased people that always release everything that they get. So, I think a lot of pressure gets put on these public figures and these public, I guess you could call them services, that it's not necessarily warranted. He's basically just some guy. He's going to have all the same faults as everybody else. So I think it should be treated fairly. I think that the West often trips up in these types of situations where they make a lot of claims about how they believe in X, Y, and Z, and then they go against those claims, and that's where a lot of hypocrisy is exposed. If they just said, hey, we believe in free speech except for these 15 times, and he's one of those 15 times, so sorry, well, that's okay, but you can't really claim that everybody's so free and that you have free speech. You really can just say, well, we have this type of free speech, and that's it. It's limited. So personally, I don't really think about Julian Assange very much. But it is disheartening to see him. I saw an article the other day that said he was freezing, and that he had access to blankets, etc. I mean, it kind of just sounds like he has pissed off a lot of the wrong people, and now he's kind of screwed. So I don't know what else to say about him. It kind of sucks for him, I guess. If Pompeo is so concerned about a China threat in tech, wouldn't a more peaceful solution be to improve education so U.S. can compete in a global economy rather than depend on foreign students? If Pompeo is so concerned about a China threat in tech. Well, Pompeo is not concerned about a China threat in tech in the way that he talks about. What he's concerned about, I believe, is a China threat, period. Just in any way. Anything about China becoming number 2 in an area and then ultimately number 1 in an area is very scary. And it's not just scary to Pompeo. It is scary when you are the number 1 country, when you have another country that's overtaking you, and you look around, you realize we're not really doing anything to stop that or to counter it or to do better ourselves. So in one way, I empathize with him. I understand that it is disconcerting, but these types of people are actually, I believe, a bit more motivated by religious senses of destiny and superiorism. Honestly, I think that most of the stuff that they say is BS. I mean, when I saw him do that video about the Clean Network, whatever it's called, I mean, most of that stuff was just intentionally vague, intentionally misleading, tech sounding, but to a real tech person like me, when I see what he's saying, that's nothing to do with what you just said. It's ridiculous. OFZ, keep it up. Thank you for your fat green dancing pair working out. All right, what else do I want to talk about? Why I stopped supporting Trump. Some of you guys may realize that a while ago I made a video that was, I guess you could say, soft on Trump. And, well, where is it? Let me pull it up for you guys. This is my desktop. Oh, is that it? No. This is Trump's 100 ignored COVID-19 warnings. Not that one. But that should give you some kind of hint. Trump Twitter. Did I not? Oh, here we go. What does Nathan Rich think about Donald Trump? And this was me trying to speak some Chinese. It was pretty adorable, if I do say so myself. Amazing song, obviously. 很多人问我，我觉得 Trump 怎么样？其实大部分美国人不喜欢 Trump。大部分美国人不喜欢 Trump。说 Trump 跟 Hitler 差不多，我不觉得是。我不觉得是。It's been a while. I actually haven't seen this video in a long time. Anyway, am I still speaking in English? Oh. So this is my kind of just rambling video. Any of the videos that were made in front of this marble bedroom wall, believe it or not, this is a bedroom wall, were very kind of off the cuff, me just rambling for the most part. I didn't really have a really cohesive message. This is pretty old for me because I learned this stuff pretty quickly, and I've evolved, I think, quite a bit on understanding things. But anyway, so at this time, my thoughts on Trump back in February or late January 2019 were that he seemed to be kind of an idiot, but he was at least trying to do what he thought in his mind would be good for America. Which doesn't sound like a very high standard, by the way, but compared to Hillary Clinton, which was the other option at the time. To me, I really didn't think Hillary would even try to do a single thing good for America, as I have just zero faith in her as a person beyond just a corporate entity. She just reminds me of somebody who is just really kind of just a corporate snake. I mean, I don't think she gives a crap about anything. And of course, you can say that about whoever you want, Trump included. But at least in the beginning, he was pretending to care, which is more than, I mean, this sounds so pathetic because it's such a, again, low bar, but Hillary just seemed to be pretending to be certain ways for her base, whereas at least Trump was sort of pretending to care. I don't know. That's how he came off in 2016, although I didn't vote for him in 2016, to be clear. So once he actually took office, he did a lot of dumb stuff, and he got a lot more flack than I expected. Oops. He said a lot of dog whistly types of things, and he clearly is, at least, I think we can all agree at least that he is at least as racist as like some random lower middle class, worker dude who doesn't have a lot of exposure to other cultures and races. And that doesn't necessarily mean that he's as bad as everybody's saying, but I think that we can at least agree that he hasn't sort of caught up with the modern concepts, even in the mainstream, of what actually is too far with racialization and racism. But I still kind of continued to support him because even though race issues are pretty important and affect a lot, I honestly, the kind of chaos agent in me sort of just wanted to see him do something to change the system. Because the faith that I have in the American system of governance has really diminished. And I'm not sure if it's because I grew up or if it's because I got, dumber or if it actually changed or what happened. But there was a time in my life when I was young in which I actually thought that the United States government was a force for good and that it was really trying to help people and that it was making great progress. Since somewhere around the 1990s, that feeling in myself has reduced. And I think that's happened to a lot of Americans. And we sort of feel that, hang on. And we sort of feel that something needs to change in the system. So a part of me was really hoping that Trump would do something about the system. Automatic cat feeder. And by the way, somebody out there said, don't feed your cats automatically. You got to do it manually so they form a bond with you. Let me tell you something about my cats, okay? This one is right to my right, just blobbed down here. Let me show you him. In every street. Hang on. Oh, come on, you fat turtle. Oh, come on, boy. So if you think that this boy and I don't have a bond, you are sadly mistaken. Boy, remember when we had that famous picture where we were yawning together? Remember? Scientology attacked us and said that we were crazy, dangerous criminals. They didn't know that you're the real mastermind, boy. Look at him. Look at the camera, boy. Oh, look at those eyes. All right, back to sleep. Chubby boy. Anyway, what the hell was I talking about? Oh, so Trump did a lot of stupid things, but I more or less had faith that the system in America would stop him or thwart his efforts. I never thought that there'd be a wall built. I thought he was just talking trash. So I kind of felt like he says a lot of stupid things and he annoys a lot of people and he does cause damage and he's going to try to do things that I disagree with, but the country won't allow him. And some of the stuff that he can do maybe actually will change things. And maybe it will just change the perspective on what a president is. So those were some of my original thoughts. I never liked Trump. I just didn't think he was as bad as everybody was really saying. Sci-Ho-Tech, you two look alike. How dare you? How dare you? I'm much skinnier than him. So things started to change for me when Trump started going after China, but probably not for the reasons that most people think. It's not really just that he was going after China that affected me. It was more that he was going after China in ways that I personally believe in the long term will harm America more than they will help America in the short term. For example, if we Americans force China to stop using our products, in the short term, that will boost up America because we'll be cutting off their technological advantage and theoretically we'll be able to promote our own advantages, our own companies. But the problem with that is Chinese companies aren't going to just roll over and die. What they're going to do is establish their own sources for these materials, sources for chips, and other pipelines to get these materials. So in the short term, it's going to hurt them and help America. But in the long term, it gives them less and less of a reason to even trade with us in the first place. Why do they need our chips when they've already invested all this into building their own plants and their own workflows? So just from a practical point of view, he started to seem more and more short-sighted when it came to dealing with China. I started to realize that these things may boost the economy and sound good now, but what about in 10 years when he's not the president anymore and no one barely remembers him other than as a weird reality show fluke? What is America's economy going to be like then when China doesn't really care about our chips anymore because, yeah, they took a painful hit and invested in themselves, even though they didn't necessarily want to, but now they've got that. That's very dangerous to me. In my opinion, what we should be pushing for is more cooperation in a better way. Now, I know that's just a vague, sort of empty-sounding platitude, but certainly the way to go about it is not by saying, well, the competition is very good, so what we're going to do is cut them off from buying our things while we can try to do somewhat better, even though we've been lagging for years, and force them to get even better deals and build the infrastructure so that they don't even need us in the first place. That just seems very short-sighted. Then things started to also change around with COVID. Now, COVID in America is actually more of a complicated subject than it sounds like, because honestly, I'm okay if the United States just says, screw it, we're not going to lock down. You know, you don't need masks. Just do whatever you want. We're the land of freedom, whatever. And I'm okay if they say, well, sorry, everybody's got to wear masks. Everybody's got to be 25 yards apart and we got to wait. The thing I'm not okay with is this decentralized breakdown of structure in which many of the different states are telling you all these different things, and the government's telling you one thing, the medical part of the government is telling you another thing, the president's telling you some other thing, and as a citizen you get all these crazy random mixed messages, and therefore chaos ensues, nobody knows what to do, and then everyone gets sick and has their rights removed at the same time. Because that's what happened. That's what's still happening to this day. Here in China, we barely remember that COVID's even happening anymore because occasionally we'll get a case here and there, and we still wear a mask, but it's not really affecting us anymore. So when I think about the United States and what it's going through, it's not, to me personally, it's not really a matter of, oh, you should have done what China did, or you should have done what, nothing, or you should have just totally stuck with your guns and said, no rights are being taken away from anybody. Everyone can do whatever they want. It just, whatever it is, it should have been a deliberate plan, a deliberate, here's what we're going to do, and that's what we're doing. And if you want to do more than that, that's up to you. So normally I would say something like, the president can't be blamed for all that. I mean, he's just one guy. But I think that in Trump's case, he was quite especially more responsible for this stuff because he very, very often spread clearly false information, like just false on a level that's mind-boggling. And so I think we can actually attribute more responsibility to him. So that's why I kind of started moving away from Trump. And I haven't done a real follow-up video, so I wanted to do this video to kind of comment about how I feel about Trump now, which is that he did give a lot of people hope for a change, and that's not just right-wingers. I'm not a right-winger by most descriptions of the word. And yes, he's probably a bit bigotous, to say the least. And those are bad things. But risking the economy of the United States long term for short-term gains, probably so that you can get reelected, probably so that you can come off as the winner, is just that's really where I draw the line, especially at the expense of Chinese people and the Chinese government and China. It's like he just happened to hit the combination of things that really annoy me the most, because I really want America to succeed, I really want China to succeed, and I really want those two countries to get along great. And everything that he's done seems to go against those things. So that's my current thoughts on Trump. Okay, a couple more super chats. Let me scroll back here. Wow, there's a few more. There's really a lot of these fat, green, dancing workouters. You showed Generation Tech on your timeline of the Falun Gong. I once saw this piss poor thing, but how did you conclude him linked to a greater connection? Somebody asked me that the other day too. Seems like people don't trust it, huh? Okay. Generation Tech. Let me switch over to desktop so you guys can follow with me. Generation Santa Claus. Generation Tech. So, if you don't know what this question is about, he's saying, I saw this channel, Generation Tech, and I'm wondering, why do you think that they are connected with the Falun Gong? That's what this person just asked. Because this channel is listed on my Falun Gong / far right map. Okay, so Generation Tech, right? I just went down here, links. Alan's Daily Nonsense. This is Alan Xie. This person is Falun Gong. Okay? In fact, you can see many videos of this person doing videos for China Uncensored and other Falun Gong propaganda. And I think even in here you could just see him, pictures of him. He also does a podcast. But you know what I should do is I'll just show you the link. How about that? Somebody else asked me about this. You guys really don't understand Generation Tech's inclusion here. It's interesting to me. Of all the things on here, Generation Tech, 2 people, maybe that was you also, but I've been asked about this twice. Why is this here? So this gray line, means that somebody is involved with that, right? Who is that? That's this guy, Alan Xie, the guy we're just looking at. See these other gray lines? Those are other things he's involved with. Not that. What is he in? Sorry, that's Generation Tech. Generation Films. Okay, and we can take a look at that. And Humanity First podcast, which is his little podcast. And I believe he actually appeared in the Chris Chappell video, the Falun Gong exposed one that I did. He works as a cameraman for no, not that. For those guys. Well, here he is on China Uncensored's podcast. I don't know if this is, I think this is somebody else's post. You can see him mentioned here as well. So, I mean, there's more connections. His little quote unquote film production company, Generation Films, also does this crap. He's also in, I think he's in episodes of The Run List, which is another far right anti-China propaganda thing. Maybe he changed the name of it to Axie Films. So here's his Facebook. Bearded Asia Man. The Bearded Asian. Generations Media. Oh, another thing that you can do with these media people is just look them up on IMDb. Thrustmaster. So here he is with Ben Hedges, another very, very far right, basically a psychopath. This guy is, he's all over these anti-China videos. He does the allow wise view on China or whatever, and these people are really gross. Let's take a look at what other stuff this guy's been into. Alan Xie. Maybe he doesn't have anything. Generations Media, maybe. No. So anyway, I hope that's enough. I've already found videos of him with Falun Gong people, podcasts with him and Falun Gong people, and there was actually more before. There's a picture on, was it Big Apple Studios? He's one of the cameramen that they show in this Falun Gong studio, I believe. They've got a bunch of different pictures here, but basically you just click around here and you can see various studios. So basically what you have to do is sit here and click every single one of these stupid things and see who's in them, because every single person on here, like there's Chris Chappell, your buddy, pretending to be Jason Smith. And there's one of these that actually shows like, oh, here, this must be a crew for hire, like a crew that you can hire, and he's one of them. Somewhere. Live production. These cooking shows. I mean, just the audacity of these people. They do this NTD television little contest in public, and they sit there and talk to people who aren't white. Meanwhile, secretly believing that any interracial relationships that these people are in are wrong. And that this kid, if this is an interracial kid, they believe that this kid will not go to the same afterlife as this man. Are they going to tell him that? Of course not. Of course not. All they're going to tell him is, oh, you're at a dance competition. Isn't that cool? Hey, you know what really sucks? China. Anyway, I can't find it for some reason. There's so many of these stupid... Anyway, I'm sure I've shown you enough already, but there's a bunch of this type of evidence that I look at as like pictures of people actually working together. I think his Instagram even had some stuff. I don't really remember exactly how much research I did on this guy. He's got a very distinct face, though, to say the least. Oh, by the way, there's Chris Chappell on Alan Xie's Instagram. Twice. I thought he was kissing Chris in this one. Never mind. Here we go. Guess which studio this is? Anyway, so that is Generation Tech. Is there anybody who's not clear still about why Generation Tech is on this map? Generation Tech is on this map because Generation Tech is Falun Gong. All right, Brennan. Okay, next. Have you seen JJ Mccolo's video on FLG? If you don't know, he's a Canadian conservative wanting conservatives to distance themselves from FLG. Well, I have not, but I will check it out. I really don't like it when people are so shameless that they'll team up with cults just to promote their political message. It's really gross. So I'll take a look at what he has to say. Kelly Y. Thank you. Hi, hope you get well soon. Thank you. I appreciate it. Take care, bro. Thank you. Did the CPC at any point inform WHO was not human-to-human transmissible? And I'm getting an error message accessing the timeline on Subscribestar. Chinese 080808. Send me an email, nathan@nathanrich.online, and I will help you out with a correct link. As far as the CPC saying to the WHO that the virus was not human-to-human transmissible, no. They said that there wasn't evidence, that there wasn't enough evidence, etc. But that's not really the way that investigations and outbreaks work. You don't really say, this isn't happening. You pretty much say, we do or don't have evidence of this happening, and how much of that evidence do we have? But I suspect your underlying point is that that would have been misleading, and it didn't happen, which I agree with. They didn't say that. Carrie from Hong Kong, thank you. Oh, there's more. You've done an amazing job for screening through massive information thoroughly. Respect. Keep up your work. From Wesker. Thank you, Wesker. One of the reasons I wanted to do these live streams is so that people can ask me stuff like, oh, why is Generation Tech on here? And then I can just go through it with you. So you can see not only that, yes, I did all this work myself, but also that I actually am interested in these things. I believe the things that I'm saying. I am me. Because, as I mentioned last time, the number one misunderstanding about me is that I have a team of people that do all this, and I just kind of sit in front of a camera and read what they tell me to. The real fact is I do all this myself. And sorry, my cat is screaming. I do all this myself And it's a lot of work. So, I really appreciate it. I've gotten some help recently with translation. I'm still, getting. All right, give me that cap. All right, guys, let me put on the screen so I can show you guys the loud one. This is the monster that's been making all that noise. See? Oh my god. And we've got a sweater on her because it's very cold these days. Come here. Clean your eyes up, You're on live. There's 5 billion people watching. The whole world. What have you got to say to the world? What do you say to the world? They want to know what you think about all this. Anything? Not happy. All right. You're not happy with the state of the world, huh? All right, bye, kitty. Well, so now you know where I get my ideas from. AL. Why is SCMP on this map? When I made a video talking about this map, I mentioned it twice, and I put it in the in a comment below. Long story short, they are here just to show you that the Moonies and other far-right people are connected and how they are connected. Okay, this is not strictly a Falun Gong map. These people here are not Falun Gong. Gavin McInnes is not Falun Gong. Falun Gong. He's not Falun Gong, right? I'm just showing you some of the other further connections. These are not Falun Gong people, okay? So they're there just to show you how they are distantly connected, but they are not Falun Gong. These people are all Falun Gong, right? Here's Shelly Zhang, who just appeared on Tim Pool's stream. Sorry, this cat really is interrupting me. All right, let's get out of this thing. So that's why Generation Tech is on there. OFZ, thank you. Thank you. Loved your dive into vaping and COVID relations. Any updates on that? Unfortunately, there's not going to really be any updates about that until we get some autopsy reports. Although I will say, I feel a little bit vindicated because, let me show you this. A long time ago, I made a video that said something like, reports suggest there could be as many as 2 million cases in the United States. Was that? Oh, no. Here we go. 8 months ago, Johns Hopkins, up to 2 million COVID cases in the U.S. And a lot of the comments... Sorry, that cat is very loud. A lot of the comments that I got were basically, oh, come on, that's ridiculous. I haven't looked through these, but I did get a lot of those kind of, oh, what are you talking about? There's 2 million. You're crazy. Conspiracy. Just so you know, the real actual numbers 3 months before this video were apparently at least about 5 million cases. Now, the reason I'm bringing this up for your super chat is because you're asking about vaping illness, and I'm not saying there's a connection. I'm just saying that this does push the timeline back, and it really makes us want to see some autopsy results of people who had that vaping illness. Joseph Smith. Thanks. All right, so I was thinking about going through the Tim Pool China Uncensored stream. The problem is it's 2.5 hours long. So I don't know if I should do it because it's just so goddamn long. Even if I do it on, 1.5 speed or whatever, it's still going to take forever to go through all the stupid. So I guess I'm just going to leave it there, and I'll think about if I should do it. Maybe I should stream again soon. And also, what do you guys think about the time of this stream? I did at 2 p.m. my time, which is about 10 p.m. in LA. Anyone? Any comments? Should I do it later? Earlier? Okay. All right, guys. Well, it's been about an hour and a half, so I'm probably going to take off now. And thanks, everybody, for joining. And I will think about some subjects for the next one. Maybe I will do that Tim Pool thing because I'm sure it's just filled with a lot of stupidity. And if you guys have a pretty good idea of when you would like to see my stream, especially if you're a supporter, let me know via email or message me on Patreon, Subscribestar, and let me know. It's very difficult for me because there's so many time zones. And just so you know, what I do with these streams currently is I cut them up and release them as videos with subtitles so that everybody can join the conversation and see what was said. And I will try to figure out how to get your comments and super chats and stuff on the stream itself. Sounds easy. It looks like it's easy. It just doesn't really work for me. Yeah, alert box is on. Just doesn't do anything. All right, everybody. Well, till next time,